It's December 10th, 2020. On this episode of the weekly, Lazarus and the FastCash scheme. The robbery happened at an ATM in broad daylight. The thief neither wore a mask nor carried a weapon. The brazenness of the crime was enough to perplex both victim and law enforcement, at least on first glance. The thief walked away with millions of dollars in cash, pulled directly from bank accounts across Europe, Africa, and Asia. This is the point where I tell you that the aforementioned facts are not the most surprising details of the crime, as hard to believe as that may be. But no, the facts come later, as the plot made headlines around the world. The robbery, it was reported, took place at multiple banks in 30 different countries at the same time. This was in 2017. A year later, the thief returned to the transnational scene of the crime in 23 countries. Again, the thief walked away with millions from bank ATMs. Who was behind the scheme? The Lazarus Group, also known to the United States government as Hidden Cobra, a hacker collective backed by North Korea. Lazarus is an advanced persistent threat, or APT, cyber gang that has pulled the Bonnie and Clyde routine since 2016, robbing banks around the world while amassing an illicit rainy day fund in the tens of millions of dollars for Kim Jong-un's outlaw regime. North Korea has increasingly relied upon Lazarus and its myriad subset of cyber criminal groups, including a new group called Beagle Boys, to conduct cyber attacks and espionage campaigns around the world. Lazarus initially found notoriety following the 2014 Sony Pictures hack and the 2016 $81 million heist of the US Federal Reserve account held by the Central Bank of Bangladesh. In separate instances to follow, Lazarus would pivot to smaller financial institutions across Europe, Asia, and Africa. The evolved plot targeted banks vulnerable to attack as a result of outdated or unpatched network servers that allowed Lazarus to set a trap the banks laid for themselves. In other words, Lazarus targeted back doors left unguarded, hid out in the security camera's blind spots, hit the vault, and walked away, cash in hand. The conspiracy has been dubbed FastCash by the US government in official legal affidavits, which charge Lazarus with perpetrating global and coordinated cyber attacks against bank ATMs in a cash-out scheme. That scheme deployed a two-pronged offensive, utilizing sophisticated malware and a network of money mules, a term law enforcement uses to refer to individuals who transfer illicit funds on behalf of criminal actors with or without that individual's knowledge. Mules can move cash in duffel bags or on their person, as commonly seen in Hollywood's take, or in Lazarus's version, electronically via ATM transactions. Cybercriminals like ATMs. Why? Because ATMs are computers, and computers, like human beings, are fallible. With FastCash, Lazarus hit banks in Chile, Poland, Russia, Thailand, and Taiwan. In each instance, they infiltrated the respective bank's internal switch application server, an essential component of ATM and point-of-sale services. The switch acts as the intermediary between a bank and its customer. When an account holder attempts to access cash from the ATM or swipes their card at the coffee shop, a message is sent to the bank that is intended to validate the bank account details and appraise the account holder's balance. If the account holder has sufficient funds and the account credentials seem valid, the transaction moves forward. If not, it's declined. This is Banking 101. Enter Lazarus. The illicit ingenuity behind the FastCash scheme reversed the above basic principles to allow a bank customer to withdraw money that was never present or accounted for in the original account. In other words, they employed an international network of money mules around the globe to open accounts at vulnerable banks. These accounts typically held a minimal balance ranging from $0 to $100. After Lazarus malware infiltrated and infected each bank's secure network to blind the switch server from seeing the true amount of funds held in these accounts, the money mules were instructed to visit an ATM and withdraw the maximum amount. They walked away with more than a duffel bag. The switch should have prevented the transaction from being processed. The malware Lazarus employed made certain the switch would approve the request, as the server and the bank itself mistakenly saw sufficient funds in the customer's account. It is currently unclear as to how Lazarus initially gained access to various financial institutions' internal protected networks. However, cybersecurity analysts believe the group employed a wide range of social engineering tactics and techniques well known to cyber criminals, including spear phishing emails that targeted bank employees with specific malware to expose confidential passwords and other sensitive data that would give Lazarus access to a given bank's network. Once an unsuspecting employee opened the malicious email, Lazarus was then green-lighted into the network. They remained undetected for weeks and months on end within the system, and with the intention of learning the employee's online behavior, discern the required protocols to access the switch server, and then mask the fraudulent transactions processed through ATMs and point-of-sale services. One of the more inventive tactics that Lazarus employed was to generate code that used logic to activate the bank's ISO 8583 messages, the standard international interface that processes customer card payments. Lazarus, after infiltrating a bank's switch, was able to instigate ATM cash outs while preventing the institution from evaluating its authenticity. By acting as the bank itself, and by employing their network of money mules to open bank accounts around the world, and then drain those accounts of their fraudulent worth, Lazarus works in secret in support of North Korea. They aid the regime in its own schemes to evade international sanctions and fill its coffers, and all with the swipe of a debit card. Lazarus is still at work today, draining ATMs of cash around the globe. However, their FastCash scheme has evolved and produced a new group of North Korean-backed cyber criminals known as the Beagle Boys. As international financial institutions have learned Lazarus's tactics and techniques, the Beagle Boys have responded by evolving the initial FastCash scheme into what the US government now calls FastCash 2.0. The Beagle Boys are hard at work. According to US CERT, the Beagle Boys have attempted to steal nearly $2 billion.